Alright, hello, another reaction to Full Starting Animation. They're back with the 1886 Atlantic Hurricane Season animation. This is on request, and I've got a couple of different tricks now. I've managed to get an epic pen, so this might be more interesting if I can actually use it. It actually does work, I hope it does, but without further ado, let's go. It looks like a new animation. Oh, that's interesting already. One in June already. You can see the category 2 intensity is like Francine 2024. This is early June category 2 land. It's actually interesting because it's a June category 2 landfall along the Texas Louisiana, near the border, and it's really interesting the way that this is a hurricane landfall just in June, mid-June. You have Beryl, which was July-based category 1 landfall early, but close to the Galveston region. But it's interesting how this one has formed already so early in the season. And you can see it intensified just on the landfall point as well. Suggests the coastal waters probably would have been quite warm, pushing 30 degrees Celsius. Potentially, a lot of different old cases, there's weakening tropical cyclones on landfall. This is the case, but depends. Like Texas coast between here, this demonstrates that it was clearly favourable, and probably more so to do with the shear, because the shear is what defines the variation in between what tropical cyclone can form in the Gulf in June. Which, like you look 2023, there's a tropical cyclone, the A-name storm that formed in the eastern Gulf. So it does form, but it doesn't intensify, and the track is altered to. You often don't get these tropical cyclones. They're able to intensify as such. Beryl again was in far east and by the point in June, which is obviously still greatly anomalous. But it's talking about just purely Gulf-based tropical cyclones. There's not much room for intensification, but they're 100 miles per hour, so 85 knots, and another hurricane in June as well. Oh, I just realized what this season is. This is the insane season, if I could describe it, because this is June once again, and this is another category 2 landfall in June. I mean, yeah, okay, there's nothing to say anymore, because I just realized what year this is. This is 1886. Yeah, this might be one of the most insane seasons in Atlantic history. Category 2 intensity landfall again, 85 knots in the Big Bend, Tallahassee region. Category 1 in late June again, almost Category 2 intensity again. Category 2 once again, third tropical cyclone in June, which made a Category 2 intensity landfall. I mean, this clearly has to have some sort of research-based reason behind this phenomena, because off the top of my head, I cannot really think of any June more recent examples. Category 2 intensity landfalls as such. Of course, you have like things like Audrey that do exist, and then you have tropical cyclones that reach shore storm status, but not often so hurricane status within the basin wide in June. And there's just 3 Category 2 intensity landfalls within June itself, and 2 Big Bend regions. So, and you can see the sort of origin points. You see the Western Caribbean twice. You got one towards probably like near Columbia Lolo. Look at this one, sort of emerging here. So, and then another one a little bit more close towards the CAG. This one's towards the Bay of Campeche, maybe some sort of Eastern Pacific influence. So that all, I mean, also these, like if you look at Harvey, it can be all the way across the Eastern Atlantic, crossing through, because there's no sort of tropical low point here. So this is already questioning a lot, because I don't really know what the phenomenon could suggest it would be for this, because it can't just entirely be probability based, because there's just not enough really probability to serve 3 tropical cyclone landfalls for June, as in this, which is very, very much against climatology, like very against, even just for 1 tropical cyclone. So now in July there's again once third, like this would be crazy in modern day to see Florida. You have 3 hurricanes within June and July. absolutely unheard of in the current day and age. But this is obviously the insane season. But rainfall persists into the open Atlantic as hurricane intensity, pushing 40. That's actually really interesting as well, because the Atlantic is actually very unique with how it supports high latitude tropical cyclone intensities. 40, that's about 40, 45, 46 degrees north as a Category 1 hurricane, which is just insane. No other basin really has this sort of unique high latitude intensity sustained really. The Western Pacific every now and then it sort of does, Central Pacific, like towards the North Pacific, every now and then again sort of does, but this is where it actually truly does happen more often, and it's actually a favourable sort of concept. But Indianola, this is the named hurricane, Category 2 intensity towards now you've got dual hurricanes at the same time, low latitude, so another Category 2 intensity landfall towards Grenada. This is probably quite close to is it Kirikou? I can't quite remember the name of the island, but Category 2 and just west of Guantanamo, and intensifies rapidly. Westwards track again. We saw this westwards track with the Galveston 1900 hurricane, with another westward moving tropical cyclone. These are westward moving tropical cyclones in the northern Gulf intensified clearly a lot towards Texas-based landfalls. So you got one type of tropical cyclone that intensifies towards the Bay of Campeche, moves from basically south to north, and those tropical cyclones rapidly intensify. You got Brett 1999, you got Harvey 2017, but then you have Indianola, and then you have 1900 hurricane, which have this other northern Gulf-based track, which is completely different. And now we have 3 tropical cyclones, almost all were briefly hurricane equivalent intensity, but now another major 6 is making landfall in the central Cuba region, another major hurricane. This season is just going to get more insane, really. Also, 130 knots, one of the most intense landfalls in Texas on record. Category 1 landfall towards Newfoundland, another Category 2 intensity. I mean, this is getting crazy now. Grand Bahama, also Category 2 intensity landfall. There's a lot. See, if you look at the swaths, you can see the different tropical cyclone influences here. Let me try the. Yeah, so I can draw here, but if you look here on the if you assume the Bermuda High was here, we would see a lot more tropical cyclones that would be around the ridge, because you got counterclockwise based flow. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing actually a lot of this tropical cyclone formation, well, at least the initial stages here. So you can have some sort of tropical cyclone that's influenced from the Central American gyre in this region, which could produce these northerly moving tropical cyclones. And you've got this southward equatorial deflected flow, and you've got the Columbia-based low. This sort of formation, a sort of weak low forms here, combined with tropical waves that progress. You've got around 55 tropical waves per season, so you're going to get quite a lot of tropical waves. But clearly, this is clear Western Caribbean, Central American gyre related with a lot of these tropical cyclones. You've got 2 East Atlantic ones as well. So you're going to have some of these waves like Beryl form here. You've got another one forming here, which is probably the extra tropical cyclone, one that moves southeastwards and leaves behind vorticity that can support tropical cyclones. Like 2024, you have different ones. You have the I-named storm, which I don't quite remember which Category 3 intensity by like reanalysis, and then you have another one which is formed here, which is very unlikely for a tropical cyclone to form, just entirely based off formation here. So again, East Atlantic probably through the MDR. So the phenomena that supports this is going to be really interesting, because the Bermuda High is not supportive of this formation. It's clearly something else is. The vorticity is what needs to be studied. Okay, there we go. I'm still trying to figure out how to work the EpiPen at the same time, but just insane. Tropical Cyclone 8 is also an MDR based tropical cyclone. It's also seemingly it's still tropical storm intensity based. And peak climatology. So now this is interesting. Now peak climatology, you'd expect a high intensity, but all the significant tropical cyclones really that I could imagine were already formed before even peak climatology has occurred. Because 8 was clearly not so much favourable. 9 is now intensifying as well, but it's also moving into higher landmass, the higher, well, at least in terms of elevation. And now 9 does intensify in the southern Gulf region towards Tampico, Matamoros. This is the Coahuila region towards Brownsville, Texas. Intensifies actually to a category 2 to category 1 equivalent, and another one 10 intensifies. Interesting how these tropical cyclones seemingly form in this region between 170 and 60 degrees north. The sort of vorticity, you can see the formation points, like where you have Andrew, which formed around this point as well in 1992, and this one here. But the intensification is what's really remarkable. You can see another one just forming in the high latitudes as well. 12 is also intensifying towards the Western Caribbean. This is October, so you would expect these sort of West Caribbean at this point. This is more climatology favouring, but I mean, again, October-based major hurricane in the Northern Gulf is not so common either, and that's also quite hostile to see this, because I again cannot think of many examples of such. You do have like Zeta and some tropical cyclones, but does not support often. And you got 11 as well, which is intensified to a hurricane, moving due south, almost 10 degrees due south. I mean, this season has every tropical cyclone is something. I think that's tropical cyclone 13, and the one which is actually formed towards the basically between the Colombia and the Panama region. You can see how it actually moved to deflected southeastwards. Actually northeastwards, and that means that it formed within this region, which it probably associates with the CAG and this with the tropical wave. So there's probably going to be multiple different ways formation for this vorticity, because again, hurricane equivalent intensity, northeast moving. Like 1999, we had a tropical cyclone that also moved in this direction, which is obviously against the main flow, which does not typically support this sort of movement. I mean, I don't really know what to say about this season, man. It's just everything is a question mark. I probably have to do a lot of uncovering to this specific season in order to explain it. So maybe I do like an explainer in another animation. Like I'll give like a brief explanation, maybe at the end or something, like of what I uncovered, because there's just a lot more to this season than I could just simply explain. Since 1935, this was the most intense in Kona sector. And it still does remain that way as well. But it does question how long will that record hold for the Texas-based landfalls, because Category 5 base intensity landfalls in the Kona sector is usually over 40 years in a recurrence, between 30 and 40 years. So that's not necessarily the intensities you want to see, but you can still see 130 knots tropical cyclone intensity landfalls. So could 135 knots intensity landfall occur on landfall? Like you have Laura and Ida, which have got pretty close to Ian. Then you've got the older cases like Charlie. But these tropical cyclones, most of them are within the 130 knot range, so 135 knots, there's a potential. It's still quite unlikely. Like recent years, obviously, not so many intensity landfalls towards Texas, other than going back to Harvey, which was a 115 knots based tropical cyclone landfall instead. So it's still quite not so probable. Even with climate change based influences, it still requires quite a lot, and there's just a low probability of it overall. interesting landfall points in there. It was somewhat deadly, but not too deadly. But that's a good part of the season, despite its oddities. I've got to definitely uncover more this season and explain it in a different video. But with that being baffled, I will see you in the next one.